Hey friend, welcome back to Bible Tract Echoes. I'm Micah McCurry, your host. I want to thank you so very much for tuning in today, and maybe you've tuned in all this week. If you have, I'd love to hear from you. Oftentimes, I'll ask our listeners to share how and where they are listening. If that's you, if you're maybe a brand new listener and you've never responded and told me where you're listening from, please reach out. I'll give you a phone number you can text me at, actually. I'll personally respond to you. Maybe you're a longtime listener and you've heard me ask for this little radio survey before and you've never responded. Well, today is the day. Longtime or first-time listener, I want to hear from you. I'd love for you to text me at this number. You ready? Write it down. I'll give you plenty of time. Go grab a piece of paper, a pencil. Maybe you just want to plug it into your phone right now. Text me at this phone number. It's 309-316-7240. Again, that's 309-316-7240. I'd love to know where you're listening from and how you're listening. What radio station, what podcast, how are you listening to the broadcast today? Regardless of how you are listening, we are going to conclude a message that I've been sharing this week titled, What's It Gonna Take? It comes from 1 Samuel chapter 17, David and Goliath. That account there, we're very familiar with it. But think about this, Goliath, before he was confronted by David, the Philistines' champion Goliath came out and challenged God's people. This heathen, this heretic, he came out and challenged God's people morning and evening for 40 days. That's 80 times he came out and challenged the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Joseph. And he was unchallenged back. God's people didn't stand up. They actually ran in panic. They ran in fear. They scattered until a young man named David. Just a little boy named David. Well, we don't quite know his age. He might have been 12, he might have been 17, but regardless, he was a youth, and God used him in a great way for the saving of his people, yes, but to show that God could use a young man like David when all of these men of war did nothing. I wonder if those men felt chagrin, felt shame when David showed them how it was really done. I wonder if you're listening right now and you'd say, I don't know if I can serve God because it's a big risk. Well, I'm actually going to answer that question here right at the beginning of this short segment as we end this week of broadcasts here on Bible Tract Echoes. I'd like you to listen in very intently. What's said today might just change your mind and might help you answer that question, what's it gonna take? It might not be good English, but it's a good question. What's it gonna take? Listen now. You think it's a big risk, isn't it? Name me a time in Scripture that God's people trusted God and it went poorly for them. You want evidence? I mean, not to make light of it. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. But how can you see everything in this book and not think, oh, he's probably going to take care of me. It'll all be all right. But some of you, that's not your problem. Your problem is you just want what you want. And it might not be a blue ribbon. It might be you fill in the blank. Holy Spirit can do that for you. I'm not even going to give you any. What's it going to take? Joel chapter 3, don't turn there, just listen. Joel chapter 3 and verse 14. This verse can often be misquoted. The context is such that there's this valley of decision where God is going to make some decisions. Sometimes it can be preached as if we are in the valley of decision. The verse says this, multitudes in the valley of decision. It's God's decision, but it's often preached as though we are in this valley making our own decisions. But multitudes, multitudes in the valley of decision, for the day of the Lord is near in the valley of decision. Now, it's amazing how the Bible is always more powerful if you just preach it in context. Because if you preach it as if you're in the valley of decision and that alone, the onus is all on you. But let's move forward in history to where God has the final say and he judges the nations. Here's the point. When you get to that valley of decision, you don't have a choice anymore. Time is up. So if I can say, you are in a valley of decision for yourself tonight. Because when God's valley gets here, it's too late. There's no more chance for rewards. There's no more chance to do a kind thing. There's no more chance to obey. It's up to him what he does with your decisions to that point. But tonight, you can change the outcome of God's valley of decision by making a decision for yourself right now. And if we can put ourselves on one side of the valley of Elah, behind us, we've got Jerusalem. You know, a Roman soldier back in the day, of course, after the Philistines, but a Roman soldier could march about 20 miles in a day and still set up camp. Jerusalem was well within striking distance for the Philistines. We'll get our geography straightened out. It's a long way from the Philippines, all right? Jerusalem was well within striking distance. We're talking in one day they could have been laying siege to Jerusalem. And you know what the Israelites could have done is they could have stepped back and just stayed in Jerusalem and tried to defend from there. But they came out, if I can say it, to a valley of decision. And you know what you've done tonight? Whether coerced or compelled or kidnapped, you're here at Common Ground Baptist Camp. You've come out from where you normally are, and now you're faced with a decision. And here's the thing, you don't get 80 chances. You got 2 on Monday, Tuesday morning, 2 more Tuesday, 1 this morning, and here we are with another decision, and you're thinking, if I can just make God prove it to me with a blue ribbon on Friday morning, or when I get home, God doesn't. You know, America has said, and it's kind of a false statement now, but America doesn't negotiate with terrorists, you know. It feels good to say, even if it's not true. God doesn't negotiate with terrorists that want to blow up his will for them. You don't get to strap your will to your body and tell God, I'm going to walk if you don't give me exactly what I want. You know what he'll let you do? I dare ya, push it. You say, the loving God that we serve, God doesn't negotiate with terrorists. And you don't get to dictate anything to him. The gauntlet has been thrown down. The Philistine has said his piece, and he said his piece, and he said his piece. What's it gonna take? Oh, there's somebody on the outside of my row. I can't get to the altar. What's it gonna take? I could tell you story after story. You've heard them all. William Borden, the Elliott family, those young men that died in a jungle in Ecuador, 1956. They descend by plane and land in Ecuador and are killed and brutalized by the Indians. Less than 3 years later, Elizabeth Elliott and a team goes back to the exact same place because they had an answer for the question, what's it gonna take? I don't need decision cards. I don't need amens. I just need you to answer the question that God's asking you. What's it gonna take? And my prayer from the deepest part of my soul is that if you make the wrong decision, God eats you up with it and doesn't let you rest the rest of your life. And at the way I look back on a night as a 12-year-old boy at a puddle of tears, I'd like you at 27, 28, 30 to look down at a puddle of tears of your own making because you didn't make the decision tonight and think, I should have done it then. Because God might give you 78, 79, 80. But there's a day when he stops knocking. It may be when you take your last breath, but I pity you if it's before then. What's it gonna take? Friend, if you think you are beyond hope, if you think God can't use you, you are wrong. If you've got, I've said this before, if you've got a pulse, God has a purpose for your life. Friend, would you please, oh please, would you please answer that question? What's it going to take? Maybe today you've heard enough that you'd say, all right, Lord, I'm going to do what you want me to do. I'm tired of doing things my way. I'm tired of living life my way. I'm going to not just surrender, I'm going to yield to you. I'm not going to look for the next opportunity to pick up arms and fight again. I'm not going to ask you to negotiate God with terrorists. I'm not going to be a terrorist with my will. I'm going to let you have your way. To see the young people at the end of this message, of course, the goal is to see a decision made. The goal is to glorify God. And if there's no decision made, then it must be in the Lord's plans. But to see the decisions made, to read them as they put them down on paper, to know that God did a work on the evening I preached this message, what a blessing. Maybe today you'd like to let me know of a decision you've made. I'd love to hear from you. Text me at 309-316-7240. Again, that's 309-316-7240. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I look forward to speaking to you next week. Have a great day for His glory. We'll plan on talking to you soon. God bless.
Thank you for tuning in to Bible Tract Echoes, the radio ministry of Bible Tracts Incorporated. Want to see our gospel tracts and other resources? Visit us online at BibleTractsInc.org. That's BibleTractsInc.org. Or follow us on social media to learn how you can partner with this ministry. Thanks again for listening. May the Lord richly bless you as you live for Him.